Somewhere in rural Indiana, a small yard is shipping heavy equipment to Africa, Australia, and Alaska. Nearly 2 million people watch their YouTube channel every single month. The man behind it has turned down the chance to scale bigger, more than once. No investors, no franchise, no empire, just Clinton and Bridget Chitwood, a tight-knit team, and a philosophy most entrepreneurs would call crazy. In an era where every business is chasing more, CNC Equipment made a decision that almost nobody in their position ever makes. They chose to stay small, and it changed everything about how they operate. Clinton Chitwood didn't stumble into heavy equipment. He was born into it. He grew up in Monroe County, Indiana, on family farmland that stretches back 7 generations, land that shaped the way he sees work, ownership, and what it means to build something worth keeping. His father was in the excavating business, so from an early age, Clinton wasn't just watching machines from a distance. He was around them, learning them, developing a feel for iron and steel that most people spend years trying to acquire. By the time he was ready to build something of his own, the foundation was already there. In 2004, Clinton launched CNC Equipment, a used civilian heavy equipment operation out of Indiana. No flashy launch, no outside funding, just a man who knew the industry and knew how to work. Bridget, his wife, came into the picture through a blind date arranged by family members. She didn't just stand on the sidelines, she became a core part of everything they built together. The business was a family operation from day one, and that was never accidental. In those early years, CNC was doing what countless small equipment dealers do: buying, reconditioning, and reselling machinery. The customer base was regional. The footprint was modest. Nothing about it screamed future YouTube channel with millions of monthly views. But Clinton had a way of seeing potential in things other people wrote off. Machines nobody else wanted, markets nobody else was watching. And in 2008, he spotted one that would completely redefine what CNC Equipment was capable of. In 2008, Clinton made a move that most equipment dealers wouldn't have touched. He added decommissioned military surplus vehicles to the inventory, a category that was messy, unpredictable, and largely ignored by the mainstream market. It turned out to be one of the smartest decisions he ever made. The focus was on rugged, battle-tested machines: M35A2 2.5-ton 6x6 trucks, 5-ton series units, military Humvees, ex-military construction equipment built to survive conditions that would destroy civilian alternatives. These weren't vehicles for the casual buyer. They were built for remote locations, harsh terrain, and situations where reliability wasn't optional. And Clinton understood exactly why that mattered. But he didn't just sell them as is. He started customizing: air ride suspension, custom seats, crew cab conversions, front and rear steering configurations. Every build was different, and the results turned heads wherever they went. Clinton put it plainly himself: when he took a crew cab-style truck out on the road, people stopped to take pictures. Those custom builds were selling for anywhere between $20,000 and $55,000, and they were moving. What happened next surprised even Clinton. The customer base didn't stay regional, it went global. Equipment was shipping to Africa, Asia, Alaska, and Australia. The reason was simple: older military machines don't rely on complex computer systems or modern emissions technology. In remote corners of the world where spare parts are scarce and qualified mechanics are hard to find, simple and durable wins every time. CNC Equipment had quietly built something with worldwide appeal out of a yard in rural Indiana, but nobody outside the industry was paying attention yet. On October 6, 2012, CNC Equipment uploaded their first video to YouTube. There was no grand strategy behind it, no media consultant, no content calendar. Clinton simply started documenting what he was already doing: reconditioning machines, hunting auctions, exposing scammers, and occasionally stumbling onto something nobody expected to find. It was raw, unfiltered, and completely authentic, and people couldn't stop watching. The channel grew into something that defies easy explanation. It isn't entertainment in the traditional sense. The average video runs close to 46 minutes, longer than most television episodes. There are no car chases, no dramatic music swells, no manufactured conflict, just real work, real machines, and a guy who clearly knows what he's talking about. And yet the numbers are hard to argue with. Nearly 2 million views every single month, consistently, from an audience that keeps coming back. What makes that even more interesting is the subscriber count. At around 173,000 subscribers, the numbers look modest compared to mainstream YouTube channels. But the view counts tell a completely different story. That gap between subscribers and views points to something most creators chase their entire careers and never find: a deeply loyal audience that watches everything, shares it without being asked, and returns every single week regardless of what the algorithm is doing. Clinton posts roughly 2 videos a week. No team of editors, no production crew. The same in-house philosophy that runs the business runs the channel. The content itself covers everything from equipment walkthroughs to auction breakdowns to moments that were never supposed to end up on camera at all. And one of those moments would become the most talked about thing CNC equipment ever produced. It started like any other auction purchase. Clinton picked up a Ford pickup truck, the kind of vehicle that moves through government surplus sales without much fanfare. Nothing about it from the outside suggested it was anything other than a used truck that had served its time and was ready to be resold. But when Clinton started going through it properly, what he found inside the camper shell stopped him cold. Computers, cameras, surveillance equipment, still loaded, still intact. The truck hadn't just been a government vehicle, it had been an active spy truck, and nobody at the auction had caught it. Clinton did what he always does. He documented it and put it on YouTube. The video spread fast. Viewers who had never heard of CNC equipment were suddenly watching a man in rural Indiana walk through what appeared to be a mobile surveillance unit purchased at a public government auction. The comments filled up overnight. The shares kept coming. For a channel built on reconditioning dozers and calling out equipment scammers, it was an extraordinary moment. Then the government showed up. Officials came to recover what remained of the technology inside the truck, a detail that confirmed what the video had already shown. This wasn't a misidentified piece of equipment. It was the real thing, and it had slipped through the cracks of a public auction before landing in Clinton's yard. The spy truck video became the clearest example of what makes the CNC equipment channel different from everything else in the heavy equipment space. You never quite know what's coming next. And that unpredictability isn't manufactured. It's just what happens when you document real work honestly. The spy truck wasn't the only time Clinton used his platform to pull back the curtain on something the heavy equipment world would rather keep quiet. Running alongside the how-to content and auction coverage is a recurring theme that has made CNC equipment genuinely useful to people beyond just entertainment. Exposing the scammers preying on buyers in the heavy equipment market. The fraud problem in this space is significant and well documented. Criminals build fake listings using stolen photos pulled from legitimate auction sites. They construct convincing dealer websites that look professional at first glance. They collect thousands of dollars in deposits for machines that don't exist, then vanish before the buyer ever realizes what happened. For someone shopping remotely, which is the majority of the market at this point, the risk is real and the losses can be devastating. Clinton didn't hire a legal team or file reports quietly behind the scenes. He put it on camera. He walked viewers through how the scams work, what the warning signs look like, and how to protect themselves before handing over any money. It was the same straight-talking approach that runs through every corner of his operation. No filters, no softening, just the information people actually need delivered directly. That willingness to name problems openly, even when it makes certain people uncomfortable, has built a level of trust with the CNC equipment audience that most channels spend years trying to manufacture. Viewers don't just watch for the machines, they watch because Clinton consistently proves he's giving them the unvarnished truth, which makes what he chose to do with the business itself all the more surprising. By any reasonable measure, the infrastructure was in place to go much bigger. Clinton built a new facility in Trevlock, 2 large buildings housing offices, a showroom, and a garage workspace engineered specifically for the weight and scale of what they move. Steel tracks were reinforced directly into the floor to support machines exceeding 40 tons. The operation had the physical capacity to handle serious volume. Inside the shop sits a CNC plasma table capable of cutting steel sheets up to 5 feet by 10 feet. Clinton didn't bring in an outside technician to run it. He taught himself how to program it. That detail says everything about how the business is wired. If something can be learned and kept in-house, that's exactly where it stays. The channel was pulling nearly 2 million views a month. The global customer base was established. Equipment was moving to 6 continents. Sponsorship inquiries, expansion opportunities, and outside interest were not hypothetical. They were the natural consequence of building something that's visible. Most people in that position start thinking about how to scale. Clinton started thinking about what scaling would cost. His answer, in his own words, was direct. Our business model is to keep it in-house as much as possible. We could make our business bigger, but we would lose some control. That's not the language of someone who hasn't thought it through. That's a calculated decision made by someone who understands exactly what growth requires and has decided the price isn't worth paying. It would be easy to read that as playing it safe, but the fuller picture tells a very different story. The control Clinton talks about isn't hoarded, it's redirected. And the clearest way to see what that actually means is to look at what CNC Equipment does with the community sitting right outside their door in Brown County, Indiana. The Chitwoods provide financial support to the local fire department and the sheriff's department, not as a tax strategy or a marketing move, simply because the community gave them a foundation to build on and they've never forgotten that. Bridget put it plainly and without any corporate language attached to it. We want the community to thrive. We donate just because the community has been good to us. That's it. No press release, no announcement campaign, just a quiet, consistent commitment that shows up every year without fanfare. Every summer, CNC Equipment participates in the Touch a Truck event in Brown County, an annual gathering where kids get to climb into and explore heavy equipment up close. The funds raised go directly to the Weekend Backpack Program, which provides food to underprivileged students in the Brown County school system who rely on free lunch during the week and have little to nothing waiting for them over the weekend. It's a detail that tends to get overlooked when people talk about what CNC Equipment is, but it's as much a part of the operation as anything happening in the shop or on the YouTube channel. Clinton summed up the philosophy that connects all of it in 5 words. You gotta be nice to everybody, short enough to dismiss, specific enough to actually mean something. It's the same principle whether he's dealing with a customer in Australia, calling out a scammer on camera, or writing a check for the local fire department. Most businesses measure success in headcount, revenue, and market share. Clinton and Bridget Chitwood measure it in something harder to put on a spreadsheet: control, quality, and a community that's genuinely better off because they're in it. 2 million monthly views, global customers across 6 continents, a YouTube channel that outlasts trends because it was never chasing them, and through all of it, a deliberate, documented decision to keep the operation exactly as manageable as the day they started scaling it. In a space where every creator is chasing bigger numbers, more sponsorships, and faster growth, CNC Equipment quietly built something far more durable than any of that. A business rooted in 7 generations of Indiana soil, run on a philosophy simple enough to fit in one sentence. They could have been huge. They chose something better. The only real question is, how many other people out there made the same call and nobody noticed?